Okay, so we are live. So welcome everyone to
Hi,
Tea Across the Miles with Lady Nancy and Lady Amy. And we have,
Lady Amy of Houses of Windsor and Nancy
oh yes.
from where? Oh,
Oh, where is she from?
my shameless plug. My
I
shameless
love
plug.
it. I was so
Thank
excited. I was
you.
like, oh my gosh, I have to use it. Yeah.
I've been dying to do it for years, and I thought I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I'm really starting to ramp up some ideas and promotions and doing my website over again and things like that. So
Awesome.
I thought it's time. It's time, and I need to take this where I go and drink tea. Even if I'm drinking water, just go, hey, cheers.
Yeah,
And
yeah, right.
so what's
That's
coming
awesome.
crown? This is
That's
my little tea
awesome.
party business.
I know. It's like, why have I not done this yet?
Mm.
Fine.
I
Uh,
thought you had. I thought you had.
No, I think I had talked about it. I don't have an actual Houses of Windsor mug. So sorry, I'm like pouring my tea back here.
No, you're fine. And I can't wait for you to try this tea. So I sent Lady Amy a sample of something I got in a local Virginia shop. Actually, it was Maryland. But the Spice and Tea Exchange. And this is Lady Grey a la creme. So where we have had and already been big fans of Earl Grey a la creme or creme de la Earl Grey, or there goes by several names. I saw this and I thought, well, this is lovely. So instead of just having the vanilla notes, this also has a good deal of lavender
Mm-hmm.
and orange peel to enhance the bergamot orange also, but
Oh,
it smells lovely. It's a black tea, of course, because we that's what we like.
and that's yeah,
Um,
that's what we
that's what we
kids
like.
go for.
Yes. So yeah, so I've been dying for you to try this one. And it's incredibly fragrant.
Mm-hmm.
Go
That's
ahead.
something good. I'd say mine is still very hot, but I got just the tiniest sip in, and it tastes delicious. At least that one first little sip.
It's
So
very, very good. Yes. Yes.
that's awesome.
Yes.
Um, okay, before I forget, let me just at least pull up my screen so in case anyone starts commenting, uh, especially like Mumsy.
Oh,
Oh,
and getting a thumbs up. Where's my we're looking for a thumbs up today.
right, yeah,
Give me
yeah.
a thumbs up. Yes.
We'll see where we get it. Okay. So first of all, okay. It says we're on Facebook. Where's my thing? Okay. Go to home. And now we're gonna go here. Okay, so Nancy is gonna sort of lead today because she's been keeping track of a list for us
White
um,
list.
of topics, royal topics, and a lot of them she wisely came up with, but then I knew she was keeping a list, so I would text her say, add this
Yes.
to the list because you'll keep track of it better than I will.
Yes, that's what I love the notes on my phone, by the way, my new phone for
Yes,
anyone.
it's
Darling,
such a
darling.
cute case. It's adorable.
It is. If you could see closely, maybe you could if I didn't have a red phone, but there's actually a very faint Union Jack that runs throughout, a pattern of
Oh,
Union Jack that
really?
runs
Oh, that's
throughout there.
cool.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And just
So
so cute.
is that a newer iPhone?
It is not a newer iPhone. My old case was breaking down. So
Okay, I just didn't
um
remember that red was an option. So I was like, because I have like a corally one or something.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I regret
Oh
it.
wait,
I
no, I
wish
don't. I have yellow now. I see. I don't
okay.
even remember what I have.
I would do white because then you can get different cases that, like the
Oh, right,
floral
right,
prints or
where it
something like that
shows.
show up better and stuff. But this is perfect because red is a
Yeah,
British
no, it's like
color.
I
So
thought the
why
red
not?
looks great with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I was
that's
very excited.
awesome.
Should give a shout out to, is it Redbubble? I got this from Redbubble.
Oh
It was a
yeah.
really good deal.
Oh, okay,
Fit
nice.
pretty well. Just a little difficulty on the side here, pushing the on and off button, but you
Mm-hmm.
can,
You can get
it,
it
it
in.
works. It works.
Yeah.
It's kind of like women and shoes. I mean, we'll suffer through an evening as long as the shoes are right. And if the
Right.
button is a little hard to push, doesn't matter
I
because
still
it's as cute
suffered
as
through it.
this. I
Right.
will suffer through it. This is too cute. So yes, I have a thing, it's notes, and I just keep a list, a running tab always. I mean, and
Love it.
that's just that. These are the topics that I keep on a basis,
Oh my
just
gosh, that's awesome.
so I always have
So
my
organized.
ideas there, or so I don't have to keep retyping things.
Right, right.
Like people say, send me your address. And I'm like, okay, well, you come into the neighborhood,
Oh,
we come into the pipes or the cul-de-sac, come down the pipe. And there were like three Tudor style houses. No, with the last, I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
typing this up
That's
once.
very smart.
So I also just want to give a quick shout out, not that he will ever watch this, but to my oldest son, Stephen, cheers,
Cheers.
who left the nest this morning.
Oh my goodness, this morning.
Officially officially left the nest, off the payroll, earning his own paycheck, going off to live his adult life as a
Wow.
Marine Corps officer. Excuse me, pardon me.
Yeah.
Proud mama, worried mama, kind of stuff like
Right.
that. I know he's got life and he's got it good, but as a Marine Corps officer, it's the part that unnerves me a little bit.
Right, right. Oh
But
my gosh.
cheers to
Well,
him.
cheers
Cheers
to
to him.
them, or
Cheers
to
to
him,
them. Thank you.
and to you, Mom.
Mm, thank you. I cooked him, but good. He's good.
Oh,
So, whew,
good.
all right.
And
Oh,
yeah, and that's one less set of eyes and ears running around your house.
yes, because they may not even be in the room, and they're probably not even paying attention. But I just feel like I can hear the eye rolls coming every time you and I are giggling or
Yeah,
talking about
yeah.
our wells and things like that. And I'm like, gosh, I just was so used to having my days and my afternoons to myself, and I don't
Right.
get that anymore. Hoping that will change soon. Fingers crossed, and pointed toward heaven. Please, God, come through with something. So that's it. I want to talk a little more tea
Yes.
stuff real quick. A couple months back, you and I also talked about that some of the tea bags have plastics in them
Oh, right. Yeah.
and have to be. So I ordered these, and I swear I wish I could tell you the brand. But these are the paper form, and they
Yeah.
work quite well. They're not as easy to pull, but when I say not easy, it's like this much harder.
Yeah.
But it is brown paper, so it is biodegradable. It does not have plastics in it. Anybody looking for an alternative, something that is better for us, a little more
Right.
organic. I did get them on Amazon, I can tell you that.
So I actually got some too. I got a really small ones,
Yes,
because I'm like packaging them, for
of course.
sell. And you're right, they are more difficult to tie, a little bit more. I'll say if it's for your own personal use, it's fine. When you're tying like hundreds of little bags,
I'll bet.
I found that the best way to do it is to basically do the tie, right, like cross the strings and tie it and then
Yes.
pull it slowly that way, because if you
Okay.
pull it a different way it'll
Yes.
tear. Yeah.
Yes, it can pull that. So you need to unite the strings before
Yes.
pulling. Got it. Good point.
Yeah,
Good
yeah. Uh-huh.
point. Okay.
So that's what I
Practice,
figured
baby.
out. But I
And
thought I was feeling the same thing where I was like, I don't know if like all these cotton bags, I mean, like, I guess, and in my mind cotton should be biodegradable and whatnot, but it seems like the paper is gonna fall,
and
disintegrate a lot
cotton's
faster.
true. And sometimes cotton has to be bleached. So think about that. You and
Oh,
I can have
right.
a private conversation about other cotton products that are bleached that you may use and put into your body. I got sick. Again, I don't want to take this
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
In my early 20s. I
This
got
is,
very sick. Like they
whoa.
brought the priest in to give me last rites, that
Oh my
kind of
God.
sick. And they all they could come up with was toxic shock syndrome. So just forewarned.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Right.
this is not that kind of conversation. We're going to
I
move on
know,
to
but that's all
royalty
right.
free, but
Yeah.
I'm just if we're talking cotton products do get bleached to get them that white and that clean.
Right.
And you think that they're sterile, but then you just want to make sure that that's not seeping back into your tea or into your body or anything like
Right.
that.
Right. Right. Oh my goodness.
Okay,
Well,
so cheers.
yeah.
Moving on, something more cheerful.
Cheers.
Um, but we're talking tea, and you asked me to bring
Yes.
up now. Do you say dandelion or do you say dandelion?
I've never heard dandelion.
It's my
I'll say it a
mother-in-law
different
says
way.
that. Then that may be a Spanish pronunciation or
Oh,
Italian
really?
like
Okay.
that.
I've
But
like
yeah,
never,
dandelion
yeah.
tea.
So
Tell me, tell me.
dandelion is yeah, what I say. But I like that dandelion. That that sounds like I feel like that sounds like it would be British.
It doesn't it? I know
Yeah.
exactly dandelion. So
That's hilarious. So yes, so my update on that is that I met someone through like a business thing and we were of course talking tea, and he said, so he used to do farmers markets and like was doing like growing mushrooms, kind of doing that thing. I don't know how familiar you are with like farmers markets, but often there's at least
no.
one person doing like the mushroom thing and
Okay.
like microgreens. But he also grew dandelions, his own dandelions, in like a flower pot. And I think it was just for him. I don't think he sold it, but he was, and I was like, what does it taste like? Do you have to put it with anything or is it bitter?
Mm-hmm.
And he said if you're doing just like the stems, you know, it'll be more bitter. But if you use like the actual yellow flower part, he acted like it tastes good. So he would drink it for, I guess, whatever health benefits it has to
Interesting.
offer. But I mentioned, like, you know, them growing as weeds all over in Indiana and stuff. And he's like,
Sure.
and he's just like, yeah, don't pick them out of the grass. Like you should have like your own like source where you grow them, so you know, like they're never been sprayed or whatever, right?
Okay. But it is the same plant because I was wondering that. Is it like the
Yeah,
same
so
plant
it's the
as a
same weed.
farm?
Yeah, it's the same thing as
Okay.
weed. Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Uh,
that's my recent intel for you.
interesting. Have you ever heard of Dalmatian tea?
I have not.
Well,
What
you
is
said dandelion tea, and I just thought, okay, let me um so Dalmatian tea really doesn't have anything to do with the dog.
okay, I was
Um,
gonna figure not, but I was like, I hope not.
yeah, Dalmatian tea, and it was actually a weed,
Oh,
water streams and things like that. So it was a tea that the Indians, that the Native
yeah.
Americans were making. So when the colonists came over, and again, this is all tying back to my tea in America spiel that I'm trying to ramp up, they would make tea from these plants, these weeds. And eventually, you know, the plant itself is called Dalmatian. And
Oh,
yeah, so
that's
that was
funny.
like
I did
one of
not
the
know that.
early teas that they used to drink here in America when they were still suspicious a little bit of this China drink that was coming over that the Dutch were importing and stuff. So
Right, right. That's
just a little.
hilarious.
So yeah,
That's
put
very
those in your
cool.
notes. Nancy and Lady Amy talking dandelion, dandelion,
Yeah,
and
Dandelion and
how
Dalmatian.
we Dalmatian.
I like that too, Dalmatian.
That sounds French though.
That's
Mm,
hilarious.
mm.
Oh, that's good.
You
Um,
also asked me to ask you about sheriffs in England.
I
What is
did.
that?
So, I know, um, so it's related to someone that I guess I've met her through BNI at like a cross chapter before. Her name is Claire. She's British, but just like my Claire.
Right?
um, and but we basically got reconnected based on a project that she's working on. So her company is called Share Group, and it's spelled SHER, like a sheriff.
Okay.
And 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 I'll explain the sheriff part of it, but what I'm doing in particular is that this year she's the host of the World Credit Congress event and
Okay.
exhibition. And it happens to be in Orlando. So like it happens every 2 years. Last time it was in Dublin. This time it happens to be in Orlando. It's a 3-day event. There's like a gala dinner one of the nights,
Oh,
and
nice.
just like a big thing of panelists for, I'll say, like probably high up people in like finance and banking and credit collections and like that kind of stuff, attorneys that have things to do with credit or collections, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So and I get to attend as part of the project.
Good.
But but basically that she has like a whole team that has done like the broad like marketing, and they have people from all over the world coming in for this. But where she wanted to bring me in was basically to kind of let the through my network and my networks let the like local area people know that this is an event that they should come to if they're in a specific industry or it's, you know, specific profession. So
Okay.
yeah, so I'm working on that. I'm a few days in. It's a 2-week project, so I'll be done with my results by the 18th of this month. And but when I was talking with Claire, and we were talking about, you know, this project and her company and why it's called Share Group. And so it is so she used to be a sheriff, or maybe, yeah. So like, okay, so she explained that sheriffs over in England is like a position that date back to, like, you know, I don't know, William the Conqueror or somebody, right? It's like
Oh, you have the
someone
sheriff
where
of Nottingham when you talk about Robin Hood. Yeah.
right, right.
So
So it's like there were different sheriffs for each county. and they were basically the right hand of the reigning monarch to be in charge, oversee land, and like I'll say lose it, like land deals, repossession, whatever, right?
Okay.
Like they're in
Okay.
charge of property kind of thing.
Right.
So so now she was became a sheriff, and like, and there's like an under sheriff, there's like all these different levels. So she was an under sheriff at some point in Surrey, which is outside of London. And she was telling me that at one point several years ago, Prince Charles was scheduled to come to Surrey for something that they had going on. I forget what it was, something that they had going on. And so she was in, you know, where they'd line people up to like introduce, you know, the prince to.
Okay.
And so she was one of the people presented to him and to meet him. And she said it's very unusual for a female to be in that role. And he kind of just made like kind of looked at her kind of like with a little smile and was like, well, that's like sort of like, well, that's different or whatever, like in a nice way. And she was
Uh-huh.
like, it is. like, so like they just had that little moment and she was like, it was wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then she also said she was present when Kate became princess and was having like was doing her first, I guess, public speaking at like some charity function. She said
Okay.
she was like 6 feet away from Kate. It's like I knew you'd love that. And she
Yeah.
said she's just perfect and so lovely. So she told me everything I wanted to hear.
I know, right? And everything the press wants you to hear.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, so it's just really cool. But yeah, she has like I still haven't watched it yet. I was talking to Trevor about it. We found it on YouTube. She told me she has like a show over in the UK, a TV show over in the UK, and I think it's called, yeah, it's called Call the Bailiffs. I believe it has something to do with like repossessing stuff. So like property.
Okay.
But that's part of the
Interesting.
job. Yeah. And I
Interesting.
forget now, she said, I believe they've started calling them something different. Like recently, sheriff has become like, you know, the antiquated term or whatever. They thought it sounded too old.
Like everything. Let's just
Yeah.
redefine everything these days.
Right,
Yes.
right. But
Let's see.
so anyway, so that's just my little sheriff thing. But it was because she was sheriff that she got to have like two encounters with royals.
That's awesome though. Let's see.
Yeah.
Um, Sheriff. I wonder if I can do this. England, I don't know. In England. New term. Let's see.
Oh yeah, yeah. Fact check me.
No, I totally
No,
believe you. I'm just
it's like,
curious.
it's
I
like,
still see sheriffs in here, so
oh,
I'd
okay,
be
great.
wondering. I'm wondering.
No,
That's really interesting.
yeah,
Good
yeah,
for her. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So it's kind of a cool thing. And yeah, so then on with the list though. What
Hmm.
do we have next?
Well, first, let's acknowledge that yesterday was the second anniversary of the passing of Queen Elizabeth.
Ah, thank you
Yes,
for that.
yes. So there were, I saw a plethora of images on social media and stuff like that of
Right.
people acknowledging that it's been 2 years.
Was it
Um,
this Saturday that was Princess Diana this past Saturday?
that was that's the 30th or 31st of the
Yeah,
30th or 31st of
yeah.
August.
I think it must be the 31st because I was at the farmer's market when I like saw that I was like out on. So yeah, I guess I didn't realize they were so close together.
Yes, August 31st.
Right.
Didn't think about
Okay.
that myself. Yeah, August 31st. And then the Queen would have been, was that the 7th? Because today's the 9th. So I think so.
Yeah.
Or was it just yesterday? I don't know. We should be
I know,
better,
right? We should.
better prepared for these things.
I
This is
know.
terrible. We're never going to pick up that podcast job, Amy, if you and I don't
I
get this.
know, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, but they have like a team. I mean,
Yes, they do. And things that hand them stuff. Isn't that the truth? And you and I do it on our own, and
that's
damn it, we
right.
do a good job.
That's right.
So um right before I wanted to reiterate because I just still think this is such a funny story when I sent it to you, or funny, cute, whatever. When I went to breakfast with my British friend Emma, and her mom is still over in England, and we were take a picture, send it to your mother. I've met her mother the last time I was in London. I called her mom. So we took this horrible selfie of the two of us and we sent it. Her mother texts back very quickly. She says, "Is that Nancy?" I said, "Give me your phone, give me your phone." And I texted, I says, "Yes, it's me, exclamation point, exclamation point." And I'm like, I said, "I'm having breakfast with your daughter." And I said something, I said more exclamation
Right,
points.
right.
And I give it to Emma, give her phone back, and she looks at the message. She goes, "Why are you yelling at my mom?" And I'm like, "I'm not, I'm just excited."
So
And I said,
funny.
do you guys not use it?" She says, "No, but you don't need that many exclamation
That's
points
so
for anything.
funny.
You only need, like one if you're being really emphatic."
Right. So I love that because I definitely, yeah, use exclamation
Yes,
points and
all the time. All the
I'll
time. Or
say,
question mark, exclamation point,
right,
question
right.
mark.
Well, that's to say, and I'll say like even in emails, like when I'm emailing somebody back, uh, and it's like, oh hey, so and so, and I want to put an exclamation point just there, but then it's like, thank you so much, exclamation.
Uh-huh. And then
And then I
and I'm
feel like,
finding that.
yeah, and then I feel like whatever I say next, it's like, oh well, now they won't think I really mean it.
It's the same as we get these greeting cards from Jose's aunts and her mother and stuff like that, and they underline a word twice, and then this one's underlined 3 times. Well, they must have really meant that one, but this one isn't underlined at all. What does that mean? So,
That's hilarious. That's cute.
and I am a grammar. I majored in English and
Right.
writing and grammar, and it is, and we have this incredible redundancy and a tendency to overdo our exclamation point.
It's so funny.
Only one is needed, and it should be used sparingly. It shouldn't
Right.
be all the time. So, but I thought that was such a funny story, and
That's
she's
great.
right,
Well, so
absolutely right.
related to English and all of that,
Yes,
Piper, we had the curriculum night for first grade last week, and the teacher was talking about how she really focuses on good handwriting, like
excellent.
really
I
developing
love
your
her
handwriting.
already. Great.
And she said that's really important to her. And and like to me, I'm just thinking like, yeah, sure, like okay. And then but I didn't really and then she explained, she's like, well, you know, a lot of kids or people these days say like, well, they're always gonna be typing on a phone or a computer or a tablet. They hardly ever use any handwriting. It's not as important. And I was like, oh my God, I never thought about people just not handwriting before. That seems insane to me.
It does, doesn't it? Gosh, I don't want to get off on my tirade on the education system in America because that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, I knew cursive was out the door, but I didn't know.
So many things, and that they're not holding these kids. They're not holding their pencil like this. I see kids that are holding pencils like this, and they're manipulating with their pinky.
What?
Yeah, not kidding. And then, and misforming the, starting the six in the middle and going backwards, or instead of, it's supposed to be from left to right, up to down sequence. And yeah, I see a lot of this is going by the wayside. But more than that, like I said, I could go on for hours
Yeah,
about
yeah.
this. A fifth grade teacher telling me, "Don't worry about their spelling."
What?
Grade, don't worry about the spelling. Kids going into sixth grade that don't know the difference between city and state. So when she's like, "Well, what state do you think that, the Mountain Rushmore is in?"
Right.
And people like, and they're naming cities, and she's like, "But that's a city, that's not a state." And they just, huh?
Oh my God.
So, yeah, there is a serious, serious decline. China's going to take us over faster than you know.
Yikes.
But anyway, funny, but not.
Right, right,
Um,
right. Oh my
all
gosh.
right.
Yeah,
So
Piper sometimes asks me about like what goes on in different countries, and half the time I'm like just guessing. But I feel like she asked me about school in China or something, and I was like, I don't think they have a summer break or whatever. I was like, I think they go to school like all the time. And she acted like, well, why? I was like, oh, because they're just gonna get really smart. Like,
exactly right. Exactly right.
um,
Gosh, scary,
but
scary, scary.
but also speaking of it, so I downloaded an app a couple weeks ago that's called Elevate. I did have to pay for it. I of course saw the ad on Instagram, but I really really like it. So it is to help you with English. We'll just say English loosely and and math. And so that does like basically so it'll do a bunch of different exercises and they're supposed to feel like games. They're like short, quick little things.
Okay.
But they practice writing, speaking, reading. I have it on the British setting, so it says maths.
Emma is always correcting me on that.
I
Yes.
know.
Good.
And memory. memory, I gotta say, has always like was my lowest, and it still is my lowest, even though I'm like getting up there. It's so
Oh my
hard.
gosh.
They do like things where they have like name recall, and they'll like you just listen and they show like a little picture, like a cartoon picture, somebody be like, this is Sandra. Sandra works in accounting and she blah 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 blah. She's coming to dinner. And then here's Paul and blah 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 blah. And like they do like four of them and then they mix them up and just put their face on the screen. And you're like, which one
Who
is
is that? Who is that?
yeah. So
God,
that one's really hard. But also the math. I knew I needed to practice my math, my maths.
your maths. Yes. Because it's mathematics. So the short term is not math, it's
Right,
math.
right. It does make sense.
That's a lot for your tongue to take on.
Right, right. But so yeah, so there's like all kinds of different things but it's like yeah, like diction and connotation and just like I mean everything.
Interesting.
Yeah, so anyway, so I'm like working on myself
But that's great.
while
That's
the
great.
rest of the world falls behind.
That's great. We'll be
Yeah.
British again before you know it. Just hold on, you know.
Oh, that and since it is set on British, when I have to type out answers, I have to make sure I put like the U in or the S instead of
Oh, yes, yes.
instead of
Save
Z.
for it. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Gotcha.
Yeah, okay.
That's fun. I used to do that on my directions on my Siri. I gave her a British accent
I
and
love it. Yep, mine
I
too.
got a lot of eye rolls, so I had to change back. Anyway, so one of the first things I want to bring up, since we're going to transition from tea to royals,
Yeah.
is that King Charles reissued the royal warrant for Twinings tea. Now, if you look on any Twinings package, there
Mhm.
is the emblem, and it says that the royal was issued by Queen Elizabeth II. It's
Right.
still, even new packages are coming out. I don't know if I've been looking everywhere. Will it have a Charles the
Right,
Third
right.
um insignia on it? I mean, it's the same warrant. It will have the same insignia, but will they change the name? I don't
Right,
know.
right.
But Twinings has been it's the oldest branded tea in the world. It's been around since the mid 1700s,
Wow.
and it has been a supplier to Buckingham Palace and to royals. In fact, Twinings tea actually came out with that Prince of Wales blend, if anybody's ever had it.
Mhm.
It's a black tea. Yes.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really neat.
It is really cool.
They said they weren't sure if they were going to get a second one, and but when you get the royal warrant, it means also that you are still the main supplier to the palace or to the royal households and things like that.
Okay, okay.
So
Yeah.
not that
Do
they
you
don't get other
know,
teas, but yeah, but I think Twinings is their main supplier. Yes.
do you know if that how often that has to be renewed, or is that
I
like
don't.
if it's by the
That's a
monarch?
brilliant question. I do not know.
Okay.
I don't know if it's by monarch, and that's what I was wondering because I kept trying to look and I was not getting enough information out there. I kept wondering, is it, since Twinings does supply so much and it is such a popular brand worldwide, not
Yeah.
just in England and not just to the British
Right.
households. Is Charles tired of looking at his mother's name on that warrant every time the box comes in? I don't
Right.
know. But I still thought it was apropos, and I subscribe. You can subscribe to Twinings to get their
okay.
latest update and information.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
recently changed their logo. I think we talked about this before, that in England
right.
it was straight across. If it was an import into the United States or in Australia, stuff like it was in an arch.
Right.
Now everywhere it is all straight across. And I
Right.
again trying to find information as to
See.
why and when,
Right, right.
but I have not been able to find anything. I think I'm like this shy to just going ahead and emailing somebody and saying, I need information, please. So
They're like, why? Who are you?
me. Crazy me. The other new thing from Charles, not Charles necessarily, was the new Charles III coins are out and about in circulation
Okay.
in England.
Yeah.
And they look beautiful.
Mhm.
You and I both did a post on that. I was going to show one. I asked my friend Kristen Leland in England, if you see one, would you please hold one for me, especially if it has the lovely bees on it. I thought so here are the coins, if you can see that, and you might be able to
can see it.
there.
Yeah, that's actually shows up pretty good.
This one, just beautiful. What
I love it.
different, unusual kind of coin with that black inlay. And there are others. been unveiled. I think they were started. The first issues were going to go into the post office,
Okay.
and then they circulate out from there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, I think it's great. One of the things that I learned, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you've heard this. It's so if it was the Elizabethan era, what
Yeah.
do you call the era under Charles? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
The
Car
Charles DNA.
Carolean. Carolean. Carolean.
Carolean.
Carolean. So that's
Okay.
when you get North and South Carolina were also under Charles, or they could have been under one of the queens. But Carol, so think about Carol is also
Right.
masculine,
I
was at
didn't
one
realize
point.
that. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Isn't that
That's
interesting?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
So
So
anyway,
I found here, I'll pull up
please do.
I'll share real quick the other coins.
Do that. It says the tail, while you do that,
So
it says the tail side of every coin will feature the country's fauna. And there you have it right there. I think
we
it's
have a squirrel,
mm-hmm.
I don't know, some
That
kind
looks like a puffin.
oh okay, puffin,
Uh-huh.
another bird,
Some other bird, I don't know.
fish.
Yes.
But yes, and then we have some pretty looks like
Now those are each, now you have, if I'm not mistaken, that's thistle, which is the official
oh
flower
that's
of
Scotland, right?
Scotland.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then probably a salmon on that 50-cent piece.
Oh,
I can't
okay.
tell what that is up there on the top. I thought it
I
was a
know the
cow, but
top is let's see. I tried to zoom in. Yeah, I can't tell if it's an animal.
well, yes, or is it more flora and fauna?
Yeah.
But they're beautiful coins. I really hope I can get my hands on a couple of those. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think they're really unusual. I thought that was really neat.
They are really pretty. I like them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Let's see. Lady Louise,
Yes. Which
who is,
remind us who's Lady Louise.
I will tell you in a moment. It's actually
Okay.
Lady Louise Windsor.
Mhm.
She is, oh, hold on, I just had it. The daughter of Prince Edward.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Prince Edward and Princess,
And Prince Edward is the Duke
yes,
of Edinburgh.
is now the Duke of Edinburgh, but he is the youngest of the four of Queen Elizabeth's children. But Lady Louise, actually Lady Louise Mountbatten Windsor is her full name.
Hmm.
And she is in what you and I would call college, and she has decided to join the military, which I think is
Right.
amazing. I think that's fantastic. And they said that she's not the first, you'd think she was, but Queen Elizabeth herself was considered,
Yeah.
of the military, and certain regiments have been filled also by the prince and princess, the princes, excuse me. So yes, and she is the eighth in line to the British. Oh, she was born the eighth in line. She's now the
Okay.
16th in
Yes.
line.
It's like she's got
Not the eighth. That yeah, she's getting
yeah.
pushed further and further back. So why not go into the military, honey? Because your chance of getting on the throne looking pretty
Yeah,
bleak.
yeah, right,
Um,
right.
um,
That's
yes,
great. But she's like the second female royal to do it, right?
I
So
believe so.
Queen is
Yes.
the first one. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because it's common for all the guys, all the men
Yes,
to
it
go and
is.
do it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of frowned upon if they didn't.
Right, right.
Um, so the royal family spends, as they always do, their summer in Wales at Balmoral.
Hmm.
Um, it's usually all of them, including the
Is
younger
that
princess. But
I have a stupid question. Is Balmoral, that's in Wales?
did I say Wales?
You did say Wales.
Scotland.
Okay,
I'm
good.
so sorry.
I
Thank you.
was thinking, I was like, oh my God, have I never known where Balmoral?
No, you have. It's just my brain fart right there.
Sure, no,
Uh,
that's fine. Okay.
No, they spend their summers at Balmoral Castle and property up in Scotland, not in Wales. And of course, the Sussexes were absent.
Oh,
Don't know
sure.
if they were invited or not. Now there was a small reunion. I don't know. It actually, rumor has it. So,
Yeah.
um, the boy's uncle passed away, Lord Robert Fellows. Anybody familiar?
Okay.
Anyone raise a hand? Anyone Fellows? Fellowes.
Nope.
Julian Fellows, creator of Downton
That's what
Abbey.
I say. That's the only fellows I know. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So it is uncle to Harry and William,
Mhm.
passed away. Harry did go to the funeral. Uh, it is said that he and William never said boo to one another.
Right.
I don't know if that's true. That is what is said.
Right.
I'm going back into a lot of my articles here to see what I have because there was a bunch of stuff here. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Well, while you're looking,
Please.
I'll say that and it's related. So I know I told you one of the things on the list was to talk about how we slash people project their own stuff
Yes, that was
onto
on
the
my list.
royals. And so now that I'm working out or working at the farmers markets, you know, a couple times a month, talking to all kinds of people, and obviously in my booth I have like the cardboard cutout of the queen, and it's so funny. It gets people like all the time because I have her like tied to one of the posts. She's a, and and like people, you know, you just watch them like either walk by it and then like all of a sudden like realize someone's like like, oh, I thought that was a real person. Or like catch him out of the corner of her eye.
Yes,
Like they freak out. And then there's some that of course want their, you know, will take their picture, which is great. That's what she's there for. Or like
yes.
they'll bow to her. Like it's just funny. But and then tons of people will be like, well, you know, you have to get the new one now. And it's like, yeah, but not everybody's ready for that. And also like I'll get them when I feel like it. Like I
Right.
I would take if someone wants to give me a cardboard cutout of King Charles, please give them.
Yes.
I'll tie him to the other pole. I'll gladly do that. But it's more, I'll say, a budgetary thing of how important do I need it like right now? Because the
Yes.
queen, I remember I got from Amazon discounted because she had been returned. Like I bought a used one from
Oh, I
Amazon.
remember you telling me that. Yes, yes.
So I need to wait for someone to buy a King Charles and return it. But I have people who will come by and like someone recently was talking about how they like Prince Harry and I feel like they well maybe they weren't British, but they were older. I felt like they would not be so on the side of but they thought that William was just being horrible and that his mom would be so disappointed in him because, you know, allegedly Charles would be open to reconciliation, but William won't hear of it. And that's like their take on it. And I was like, well, you know,
There
and they
are
had
things
like,
in the press that indicate that hint to that. I shouldn't say indicate, but hint to that.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So like I agree with that, but they kind of like were now just like painting William, but then it was interesting because then they were like, you know, William's just more like he's always been more like, you know, stuck up or all about it or you know, whatever. And it's like, well, he's also the heir.
Yes. Yes.
So he has to be the responsible one. Um, but so it's like 1 minute I'll have people comparing they'll be like, well, he's just more like his dad or whatever. Like, you know, Harry's more like his mother. And they, you know, reminisce or whatever, fantasize about
Mhm,
how she was
mhm.
perfect. And so Harry's more like her, and that means the other two are on the other side of things. And then the next minute, I'll have someone talk about how uh Harry's like, you know, great and just like his father. Like, so it's like, you know, and that, you know, William's more like his mother. So I think it's interesting. And also, oh goodness, I happened to be set up next to a lady one time. I forget now what it was, a craft type thing that she sold. But she told me that she's actually like some crazy, like, I don't know, eighth cousin or something crazy to like Prince Philip. Uh, and like her, you know, her family and like her mom, they didn't even know it until right. They did like some ancestry.com thing.
Right, right.
Um, but so we were talking about it, and so then it was like whenever anybody came to my booth, right, we're talking, it was like, well, you gotta go talk to her. It's like she's actually related to the royal family. And one lady who was British was like, oh, and I said she's related to Prince Philip, and she goes, don't even get me started on him. And I was like, oh, well, this is interesting because I'm like, I know, you know, I was like, that was a strong reaction because I'm like, what I know him for, I'll say at worst, is his politically incorrect and poorly timed jokes
Right, right.
nonstop
Hmm.
comments, rude comments. But it was like seemed like it was more than that. So she's like, but you don't want to, and I was like, well,
But
I'm
yeah,
kind of curious, like what do you know that I don't? She was like, well, he's a pedophile, and I was like, I was like, what? I was like, I don't remember. She's like, yes, with that fellow, that Epstein guy. I was like, oh my god, this is
oh
Prince
my
Andrew.
gosh. Let's get things straight, people.
I know, right? Because I'm just like, what? Philip has some kind of story out there with that too, and then it was just like, oh my god. So it was like me trying to delicately be like, that's his son. That's Prince Andrew. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
please stop, please stop spreading this.
I know, exactly. Exactly. Oh
But it
my
was
gosh.
it was a roller coaster for me.
But you did set her straight. You did set her straight,
It's
right? Okay. It's no, it's yeah. Amy and Nancy on the mission to teach people the
right.
the rights and wrongs, including that we don't drink our tea like this. I see this all the
I
time.
know, I know.
I'm like,
And I
no.
tried I know. I tried it to do I like when Jane of the English Cream Tea Company, who I know, I like when she was talking to me about it, that she teaches the proper thing, but also says like have fun, like whatever you want to do, right? It's like don't do it if you're having tea at Buckingham Palace, but like as long as you know what's proper.
Yes,
And
exactly.
yeah, and then you can have fun with it. So I try to
Yeah.
like take that like laid back
Yeah.
thing with it
Uh,
because I'm like, I was like, don't be a party pooper just because you know the rule. Like if I teach it to you, don't go around and be like, meh, 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 meh.
yes, right, right.
Like you can tell them in a fun way, but
Yes.
or just like keep that to yourself.
Yes. Well, and the story, the anecdote I give is Minnie's Bow Tunes that she and Daisy are having tea in England, and it's like right at the end of the little snippet of the cartoon, and they're sitting across from each other at a little tea table with their teacups, and they're like, "All right, everybody, pinkies up!" And I'm like lunging at the television, going, "No!"
Yeah, I will say, yeah, when I see it like on TV or like yeah, kids stuff, it's like you're teaching them the wrong stuff.
Yes, or the guy who's at like the Preakness, the horse races, or
Yeah.
the Kentucky Derby, a
Mhm.
British gentleman, a British
Yeah.
fellow. Um, and they give him a little segment called High Tea with so and so, and I'm
Oh, I
like,
didn't know that.
what are
Yeah.
you what are you having? Bread and cheese and stew? What is this, dinner time tea? What are you, because it is not high tea. So yeah, that just, oh my
That's
gosh.
funny.
Take the microphone away from these people. That drives me nuts.
That's
Drives me
so
batty.
funny. Oh
Oh
my
my
God.
goodness.
But
So,
yes, so I just feel like it because it's like, I was taking, I'll say like when the one woman was basically saying things of bad things about Prince William that she didn't like and was
right.
like fully against him, I realized I was starting to take it personally because like he was my first love. Like how dare you? I was like, you don't understand what his life is
I
like.
know,
I
exactly.
I do.
Let me tell you how it is for him. And this
I
is
know.
why you should love him dearly.
Yeah, I was like, and
That's,
I feel for Harry. That's fine. Like, I was like,
oh my
what's
gosh,
the
that is
same thing
so
to
funny.
William? So that's when I was like, and then I was kind of thinking about how people were talking about the different ones in completely different ways. And was like, oh, we're like all putting our own,
Yes, yes,
ship,
yes,
our own ship
absolutely.
on them,
I mean, seriously.
projecting.
Yeah, and we do because it's going to be based on how involved we feel, like you and I would be, the
Right,
ultra. And it can follow your political beliefs because certain
right,
news um uh entities will put things
right.
out there
How
that
they
are
report
negative
it.
about one and not about another.
Right.
So yeah, it
And
really
it's like coming
kind of
from
feels
your
like
own
that.
personal perspective, everything
Yes,
that's like made you the way you are, you're seeing it through
yes,
those lenses.
yes. Um, well, so apparently Harry did go.
I know you broke up for a second.
I, I think possibly because the press was not. Are you there?
Okay, wait. Yeah, now I'm here. Okay.
Oh, okay. Very good. I think we had a little
Yeah, I was like, we have
glitch there.
a little bit of
Um,
the, yeah.
anyway, it's my understanding. That's probably for me because I'm outside because I couldn't
Well,
final recording.
I know. I think it's also so it just started storming here. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm like,
Okay.
because you weren't this choppy until all of a sudden it started raining.
Gotcha. Yes, and you are like that the jittery move right now. So that's
Yeah, yeah.
interesting. It's my understanding Harry stayed with his uncle, the Earl Spencer,
Oh,
Diana's brother,
right.
at Althorpe.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and so now the story's out there, however true, however untrue, is that Harry has now found his home away from home. For when he does travel to England, he has an open invitation to stay at
Right.
Althorpe. With that, aunt and uncle, they who are now in the process of divorcing also.
That's what I heard that through the
Yes.
farmer's market vine. Great.
Yes, yes, that he's divorcing if it isn't complete already. So and you know, in another article further, and I do believe this is entirely true. You know, it's like, well, why if Kate and Will are able to take their children to school on the first day of school, you know, why is it that Harry thinks, you know, that he's so unsafe? Well, because Meghan is so hated there, and because they're not going to be given the same level of security.
Right,
And
right.
and you'll notice there are very, very few pictures of their children. Very,
Oh,
very
right.
few. And a lot of them are somewhat obscure. They're not like full on portraits,
Right,
because they are protecting their kids
right,
against what's out there and the nasty to the level of possibly dangerous media coverage that they get,
right,
and feedback on social media.
right.
So understandable. Yeah, it's a shame.
And
I mean, wouldn't we all love to see Harry and Meghan go to a royal event and start, you know, closing this
right,
massive gap between them? And
right,
I do wonder if there is a. I think we'd all like to think that Charles is a grandfather, and he seems to be a sensitive, endearing man. Also,
right, right,
that he probably wants the rift to end. He would love to have his grandchildren around him.
right,
Um,
right,
and I do wonder just how much of William is saying absolutely not, or not under my reign when it
right,
happens,
right.
things like that.
That's
So,
that's true. Well, I gotta say the Althorpe thing makes a lot of sense, and it made me feel
uh,
like how have we how has that not been
not been
like
discussed before.
offered?
Yes,
Yeah, how are we just now coming to this option? Like,
yes,
especially since, you're so you feel so strongly bonded to your mom and your mom's situation and everything was like, why would you not be closer with that side of the family in the first place? Like,
right,
especially now that you're free to do whatever you want.
absolutely,
So,
yes.
so I think that makes perfect sense to do that. But yeah, you're right. And it feels weird now because it's like so much time has passed since at least the initial breaking off of the royal family. And
Right.
like, and even like the Oprah interview, all that stuff, I feel like it's to me, it almost feels like a weird bad dream where it's like, can we just like reverse everything and you like go back to being like royals and like we just forget this whole thing ever
Right. Yes,
happened?
exactly. And
Like,
forget that it all happened.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, can you guys just like you've said your piece and now you realize like, okay, I got it out, but I won't do it again. I don't know. Like, because you're right, like they can't just walk their kids around easily in
No,
England
no.
because it's not just Meghan. Like because of Meghan and Harry and all the choices they made and choices they were forced to make.
Mhm.
Um, their kids are going to be like viewed so much differently. Like
Very
they're
differently.
going
Yeah.
to be scrutinized, I think, a lot. Yeah, I feel like it's going to hopefully people will be kind of nice for a while since they're kids, but I feel like it's going to become a thing of where either they don't even act royal or they act too royal. Like I feel like it's going to be another like you can't win
Right.
type of lens, yeah,
Yes.
on them. If
Right.
Harry and Meghan don't change, the uh I don't know, the image of them, their public image.
Yes. And some of that would have to come from, I think even if they were able to make amends with the Waleses, I think so much of this is so far gone with the press and the media.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they could come together just as family and say, hey, that's how the press and media is. We know that. That's why half of the start
Right.
of
Right.
all, let's overlook it. Let's get past it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but along lines of Harry too. So he's going to be in New York
Mm.
at the end of September, the 22nd through September 29th. He'll participate the Halo Trust, the Diana Award, the Diana Award, and is it called Travelist? I don't know what that is. He will also be furthering the work of the Archwell Foundation, which is the nonprofit organization that he and Markle founded.
Right.
So he will be over here on the East Coast at some point. Get
Okay.
your ticket, go see if you can stand outside Sun Building and
Yeah,
yell.
yeah.
Um, um, trying to think, I'm looking at some of the other articles and things I had listed here. Megan's trademark for American Riviera Orchards keeps hitting roadblocks. Have you been reading about this?
No, I haven't.
Uh,
Okay.
gosh, let me see if I can
Yeah,
find
it's like
them. I
I
save
know
these articles and I send them to myself.
I know I started following her on or following it on Instagram,
Yes,
but
I noticed you and I are both doing that. Yes.
yeah, but I think yeah, they've got I was like, yeah, it's nothing has changed. So they have 613,000 followers. They're following 0 people. And they have 9 posts, and the 9 posts make up the here, I can just
The
share it.
logo. The logo,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, yeah. So I don't know what you call it. I've seen other companies do this now too, where it's like tiling or whatever, like
Yes,
do
I
one
think it's
post at a time.
I love it. I think it's great.
I think it's cool. Yeah, yeah. So, okay, so this is what we're talking about, right? This
Mhm.
right here,
Yes.
the design. Okay.
Yes.
So what do you know
Well,
about it?
it just says her request to trademark ARO has been denied. Brand faces serious trademark issues with the USPTO, the
What's that?
United States Patent and Trademark Office.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I had to think about that for a
I was
second.
like, what's that?
Okay. The office objected to our application, saying that businesses are not allowed to trademark geographic locations, including the nickname of the coastline around their California home, the American Riviera.
I didn't even know it
Who
was called the
I
American.
know, who knew? And I guess I have the sun coming in now. Do you
Oh,
see?
that's great. Yeah, it looks great.
All right, hold on a second. Let's see if I can fix that without having all of my equipment fall to the
That's
ground.
funny. Yes. There we
There
go.
we go.
Yep,
Okay. All right. Very good.
that's funny. But you're right. Yeah, so it says Montecito underneath it. Yeah,
Yes.
American
And
Riviera
the
Orchard.
American Riviera, which is the nickname for that. It's kind of like, where
Right.
Pensacola, you're from Florida. The Pensacola is known as what? The Redneck Riviera.
Right. Yes, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I was saying
I wonder
American Riviera sounds a lot nicer.
if it's entirely nicer. The other reasons for the decline included her alleged failure to sign the correct documents and the ambiguous description of her products, which could fit into different trademark categories. So
Everything they do is ambiguous. Sorry.
right there, it's
Everything
just like
business,
something
everything
really
business
solid.
wise
Yes,
ever.
I agree. I agree. There's nothing that's really, like this is what they stand for. It's like they're all over the map,
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And yeah, okay, tell me the rest and then I'll tell you what
Oh
I
no, I'm just the patent office noted, for example, that her brand's posed cocktail napkins could be paper or textile, which are two different categories, as well as her cooking utensils, which could be manual or electric. Oh my goodness gracious. Now she had the TIG. She had that before where she,
yeah,
you want to
like a
say influencer,
lifestyle
basically, yeah,
blog.
lifestyle stuff like
Mhm.
that. Yeah. So, and I'm wondering how that was much different. Anyway, so registration is refused because the applied for mark is primarily geographically descriptive. I don't understand that, but I'm sure there are reasons for it. Commonly used nicknames for geographic locations are generally treated as equivalent to the proper geographic name of the place identified, blah, blah, blah. So, one more thing,
Yeah,
another roadblock, poor Megan, just never gonna be the star that she really wanted to be. And I don't mean to sound that derogatorily,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
do believe some of that to be true.
Well, I think on this note, to me, I'm thinking, who on her team failed this? Because it's not like she's
Yes.
personally applying for this stuff and
No, she's
filling the
not.
things out, right? Like
She's paying people.
someone is definitely guiding her and should be guiding her, right? Like I'd say
Yeah.
probably the average business coach could tell you how to properly apply for a trademark,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So
Well, that's
like
why I'm
and she
surprised
should
that
have
her career.
lawyers on, like, someone down there
Yes.
with the name thing. Like,
Yes.
how did we get this far?
I, yeah, I don't, and did she not hit these roadblocks with the TIG? Now, maybe not, the TIG was not geographical, I get that, but
Right.
how do you trademark the
But
different things that you're saying? Was
but
it,
she didn't have the brand, like she didn't have merchandise branded the TIG, right? It was just her, I thought, promoting things,
and it
right?
could have just been that, kind of like influencing, like,
Yeah.
okay, I tried this brand from so and so and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I never
Yeah.
looked at it, but that was like my understanding of what it was. So this, it's like I think they actually want to be selling things that are branded with this. And
Yes.
so they've, yeah, got to have it trademarked differently. But that is yeah, interesting. And again, like, you know, it's almost like pick a lane. Like, what are you
Yes.
guys gonna do?
Yes.
Because I feel like Harry wants to just do basically be have a low key royal lifestyle without being the royal, like, which is fine, whatever. Like going around and like presenting things or accepting things, right?
Hmm.
Like use your influence and your spotlight. So that's fine. So it's like it's not like he wanted to, like, I don't know, go be a carpenter or whatever. Not like he wanted to change like completely into
No.
it. And
And it's
and
not
like
like he's going into complete incognito either.
right, right. And it's like I think and then with Megan, it was like, well, one, again, I know she was in the show Suits and that was a long running show, so like great. But again, like was she gonna like get picked up on anything else or like transition to movie? I
Yeah.
think um and then also I feel like she should go back, like I just want to be like with a lot of the celebrities, and I'm sure they're doing it because it makes money, but it's just like stop creating lifestyle brands. Like just stop it. Like you can probably do a lot, you'll do a lot more good for people if you do something like the TIG, right, where you're promoting different people's
Right. Right.
products.
Hmm.
If you really like to talk about products or whatever, right? Like don't create your own whole thing. Um, and then but yeah, but it's just like there's enough of them. I mean, I feel like Gwyneth Paltrow's like the most successful and well-known one, Goop,
Yes.
the whole lifestyle brand.
Hmm.
But with Megan, it's like, why don't you go back to what seemed to really drive you before you met Harry, and
Right.
not the acting, but like she was all about like different women empowerment, like
Yes.
particular
Yes.
things, uh,
Hmm.
like either events or groups, whatever it was, right? Organizations.
Yes.
And like now you can kind of have that life. Like Harry's basically doing the same thing, but for his things.
Yes.
Like,
Right.
so just do, like, you kind of wanted to live the life of a royal in your own way
Hmm.
beforehand, right?
Hmm.
Like making appearances and whatnot. So
Right.
like, just go do that. We don't need American Riviera Orchard. Like,
And I've subscribed to it on Instagram because I'm just so curious to see
oh sure,
what is
yeah.
she putting out? What is she gonna, what is this about? And
I
so
feel
far
like, yeah,
nothing.
out of the 600,000 people following
I
her,
know. Drum
almost
roll,
all of
please.
almost all of us are following because we're like, what's happening? Like,
Yes, what's going on?
you guys aren't even active on Instagram to where you're following anybody. Like, usually brands at least follow like two people.
Yeah, and before you go out there and start adding these tiling posts, there's these
Yeah,
separate, maybe you should have made sure that this was going to be okay to use before you did this.
right, right.
Really interesting. I did read an article, it was just yesterday. It says Meghan Markle is sitting on a gold mine and it
Okay.
may be her last ditch effort kind of thing. And they said if she would write her autobiography,
Yeah.
they want to make millions of dollars. Let's do that. Now let's talk about Harry's book. Okay.
Mhm.
So Harry's book
Right.
would have sooner gone into like by the time a book comes out before it gets put into paperback, there's a certain span of time. And that time is a lot of time dictated by how popular is the hardback book still, is it still being
Right.
sold? Well, his book was still being sold in hardback and still flying off shelves, so much so they were like, well, we're not doing paperback yet. We're not doing paperback. And they kept pushing it back. I
Yeah.
think finally gotten the approval to roll out into
Oh, wow.
paperback. Okay. So his book is doing very well, and that has fed their pockets. If Megan were to put or to write an autobiography
Right.
and do something like this for herself, they could potentially be doing very much that. Now,
Right.
their lifestyle, though, also I do wonder how expensive. I mean, did you watch the interview that she did with was it Paula?
If it was recently, no. I
Yes,
can
yes,
say
yes,
it's,
yes.
yeah.
Because they're one of their new things under Archewell is that they're supporting parents who have lost children to suicide because of social media.
Okay.
Totally worthwhile.
Yeah.
Support the effort and the endeavor. I think it's great. As she sits there in front of the camera in a pair of pants that apparently cost $3,000. So it's things like that that I find hypocritical when you're going around trying to run charities.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
Amy,
Well, I
Amy,
know.
wouldn't you love it if had it's like, oh dear, look, honey, there's a pair of pants over here by such and such brand, and they're only $3,000
I
this
know.
week.
I know, but I have trouble with like any celebrity that I see wearing anything expensive. I always am cautious though, because so many of them get gifted things
I
because
understand that.
so I'm like, yeah,
Yes,
but
yes,
also, but you're right. Like maybe don't promote those pants like during this thing,
yes.
like
Or, you wear those to your galas and to your night out and your date
right,
night. They're not the things that you show up to your charity events,
right,
trying to tell everybody, give money,
right,
because you're wearing, $6,000 shoes.
right.
So there's that part of hypocrisy. But anyway, so this book, how I do wonder sometimes. It's like, yeah, they made millions of dollars. Well, how far does $1 million go for two
Right.
people like this when they're jet setting everywhere? Just the same, it'd be interesting if she did, fall to that and say, I'm going to write a book.
Right.
I agree. I do think that is a way that they would make a lot of money.
Right.
If they were going to do it.
And I feel like her book would do less damage to the royal family, or like wouldn't do any more damage than what Prince Harry has done. Like she could really focus more on
Her
her
upbringing. Yes,
and
exactly.
acting and whatnot, and like,
Yes. Yes. Her love story, big
right.
children. I think there's a lot more that could be done, and it doesn't have to be. I mean, you can still could you not tell your royal escapades without throwing people under the bus?
Right.
And I remember the first time I met Kate and we did this and blah, 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 and just don't mention the nasty parts,
Right.
But I think that would also elevate her instead of seeming,
Right,
catty.
that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, we should get on the phone, tell her. We should
I
talk.
know, right? Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think, who was it that was looking for a new like PR or like type person? I think it was
Andrew?
actually I think it was, what'd you say?
Is it Andrew?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was whatchamacallit, William and Kate. I think it was
Oh,
them.
yeah,
Because we were,
right,
'cause I think I
right.
shared it
The
with
guy
you. Well,
who
you have
turned
to
around, what was
you
it?
have to move over there.
Yes. Who was it that they hired though? It was somebody who was it a store? It was a
Oh, you're right.
supermarket
It was
chain,
someone
wasn't
that
it?
like came from like supermarkets, right?
Yes, that turned a failing supermarket chain into something,
Yeah, like
very
yeah,
profitable
very
and prosperous. And
right.
they
And I
hired
thought
kids.
that's kind of
Brilliant.
cool.
It is brilliant.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
it's great.
that's awesome.
So
Yeah.
Queen Camilla,
Yes.
what would she be called if she survived her husband, the king? What would her title then be?
All right, because she's not a mother, like she's not
Right.
mother to the kids, so she's not queen
Correct.
mother.
Correct. So I thought, wow, that's a good question.
Well, what were the other ones, I guess, called before? Or I guess they were always still a mother, weren't they?
Well, Elizabeth's mother had been queen also. She was
Right.
Queen Mum.
So I knew she was queen mom.
Queen
Yeah.
Mum. So she would be the Queen Dowager.
I was gonna say dowager, but I
Are you
didn't know if
really?
she
Oh,
was.
good for you.
I was, but I didn't
I
know if
beat you to it.
I
Sorry.
didn't know if it was still with the word queen. I was trying to figure out like, well, how do you make it a queen? Oh, you just still say queen dowager.
Yeah, Queen Dowager, which is defined quite simply by Merriam-Webster as the widow of a king. So
Oh,
she would
okay.
be known as the Queen Dowager. And that was something that I texted you the other day. If you follow some of the, royal engagements that she does, she's always out and about. She's doing a lot because her husband is still recovering,
Right.
recuperating, possibly still going through whatever treatment we don't know yet
Right.
about, for his cancer. But here's a woman who did not aspire to be queen. That was never on her, bucket list of things to do. She simply fell in love with, the man who was to be king.
Right.
And she's out there being the face, being the empathetic face, the friend, the confidant, the empathizer, and she's out there a lot doing that. And I think she's really doing it remarkably well, at least what we can see, what the media puts out there and stuff like that. And again, for somebody who just this was not, in fact, I think she really didn't want it, especially after Diana died. She knew she wasn't going to be popular, or
Right. Right.
I just think she's, kudos to Camilla. I just think she's done a remarkable job for being thrust into this and doing,
Right.
all for the sake of, being with Charles. So
Right. Right. I agree. And I think, yeah, and I just think as far as looks go, I feel like age has done her well. Like I just think she just looks like the prettiest old lady
yes, yeah, she
ever.
she she is. She's
Um,
very well.
but yeah, but so that was another thing where like people project their stuff onto the
Yes.
royals, which I feel like it's easy to do, right, with Camilla,
Oh,
especially if you don't know
sure.
their love story and like you just know, the ugly highlights. But people that I talk to, they're like, they just don't like Charles, and they're like, because of what he did to Diana, and it's like, and I realize I need like I'll just say I need to stop politely arguing with, with people
Oh,
that it doesn't matter because I'm like, I'm like, I should probably like be more agreeable with these potential customers. But instead I'm like, well, I'm like, yeah, but in all fairness, like he did meet Camilla beforehand and they did want to be together and they weren't allowed to be together. And poor Diana was just pushed in and everything. And they're like, yeah, but she's just a evil woman that like she wanted to be queen and blah blah blah. I was like, listen,
oh gosh, I don't
I
believe
know,
that.
and it's like, no, she
Yeah.
didn't. No, she didn't.
Uh, That's interesting. Yes. And what do you say? Because we are talking potential clients.
Right.
Is it worth defending the royal family that really doesn't affect you personally or
I
impersonally,
know.
So yeah,
But
the
I'll
whole
say, I
family.
guess it stays
Mhm.
true to my brand. Where it's
Yes.
like,
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Agreeing with you on that though, and marriage is a two-way street. I do think
right.
I do think some of her behaviors were inspired, that's the wrong word,
Yeah.
but brought on Diana's
Yes.
uh by the circumstances and knowing from the start that she was not the only one in the picture, and
Right.
yeah, very
Well,
difficult.
she was
So
what, like 18, right? When they got
19,
19 when
18
they
engaged,
by the
19
once
got
they got
married. Yeah.
married. So it's like, here's my ghost cat.
Yes, I did. Yes.
So, um, but yeah, it's like I think what they've now said that like people's like you're not even fully developed like your brain wise or whatever when you're like that age. So it's like how's she supposed to know how to handle anything? Like
Yeah.
even the most stable mentally stable person at that age pushed into all of that pressure, like, and having, yeah, I mean, again, she has her own issues, but yeah,
Yeah.
so like and then she doesn't have a good support system and is young, so, trusts the wrong people or makes just childish, selfish mistakes. Yeah,
Well,
or
desperate to get attention, desperate to get
right,
um someone to listen to her and to
right,
take her side, and
right,
just being told, never explain, never complain. And
right.
yeah.
So,
So
so yes. So I'm of course always on the side where it's like, but also I recognize that I was not really aware of Princess Diana until she died. So like I'm of the generation where I didn't live through the marriage, like the wedding and all the hopes and dreams that everyone projected onto them for that.
Sure.
And then how ugly everything came out as they got divorced, right?
Mhm.
Like I wasn't
Right.
along for the ride for that. So it's easier for me to detach from that. Like
Sure.
I get that.
Sure.
But there's so many people though, I mean not surprisingly, that are still very much of he's a cheater, he's a horrible person. They should have skipped him, you know, and then yeah, and they just
Yeah.
keep get by,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I do think there's, there can be blame put on everybody all the way around,
Hmm.
but I think there are circumstances that were forced and thrust upon them. Diana's behavior was sort of forced upon her because of what was going on. She didn't know
Right,
other ways to handle it, and then other people weren't helping her handle it. And
right,
he was forced into a marriage that was not what he wanted initially,
right.
or was fooling himself to think, I'll get married and
That
everything
it
will
would be
be okay.
right, right.
And that never had. So yeah. But yes, it's difficult to when you sit there and listen to people's opinions about things and just go,
I know. I
I
know.
don't agree. I'm just
If
gonna
it, yeah, I know. It's like if it's not like too bad, I was like, I'll be like, yeah, like, you know, I can see that side of it. But it's when they're like 100% opposite of what I
Yeah, where I've actually been like, well, you might
and
want to
it's
go back
negative,
and
right?
read
Like,
Harry's book. You should read Harry's book because it's really interesting and it has a really different perspective on what
right,
he's
right.
gone through, stuff like that, and then you get that person says, oh, so you're gonna believe everything you read that he's well, okay, then
It's like,
what do
no,
I have? Where am I? So
right, right. It's like, no, I just let's just hear how his read what his account of his experience was.
yeah,
Like it is his
his
truth.
truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh. So two more things I was going to bring up. Oh, three. We never really talked about the Sussexes in Colombia.
Oh,
Um,
right,
don't have much other than it seemed like it went very well.
right,
But again, the royal family again saying this is not a royal tour. It should not look like a royal tour. It's
right.
just them going
But
down there to do what they want to do and promote what they want to promote.
right. But also everybody cares because they're the Sussexes, like,
Yes,
and
precisely.
and like with the fashion, I feel like the only things I really like that made its news to me was that she was wearing like local designers and stuff, and
Yes,
that's something that she does a lot, to promote
correct.
them. So
Correct.
so great, fine. But I didn't know what were they actually there for? Like, was there an event or something?
We could
Yeah.
type that. Why did the Sussexes
And
go
actually,
to
it's
Colombia?
funny
No, I know
because
that they were there. I think some of it was also supporting some women's issues down there.
okay.
Find
So
this
that
one.
was another, I forgot, that was another farmer's market random comment by someone was like, they're so worried about their safety and they went to Colombia. And she was like, I mean, I hear from some of my friends that there's certain parts that are safe, but still. It's like,
I think they would have been just fine. I think
and
they
I was
were
like,
in
well, the Colombians might not like have a hatred for them. Like,
precisely. Um, I can't type. There we go. I believe that they were invited, and
okay.
I keep trying to type in Sussexes, and it keeps coming with fat thumbs suspects.
Oh, suspect. Yeah. Well, and I guess like
Here we go.
that's another thing too, right? Is like if they're not gonna play off the royal thing, it's like, well, but their name is like Sussex, like that's literally
Everybody
where.
knows who doesn't know that he's
Yeah,
the
right,
son of
right. But I'm
Diana.
like, even
Yeah,
if you do it to where, like, let's say, like, far into the future, right? Where it's like, we'll say, it's like Piper's age group, right? Like, they don't know, they don't remember this being a whole thing, right?
right,
So, like,
right.
to them, they'll be like, oh, were they like royal or something? Like, what's their deal, right? Like, if they don't,
Yeah, yeah, I
if they don't
gotcha.
make it a thing, like, then there'll be certain generations will forget that they were a thing.
Right. Yes,
Like,
understood.
yeah,
Understood.
yeah,
This they were, as I said, they're promoting their charity for trying to make the internet safer for children.
right.
They spent first 2 days talking to activists, experts, and school children about the impact of social media on young people. And it says, what did they achieve? I don't know. And then somebody else says, incredibly staged, very polarizing. Um, but yes, they were there to promote. I do believe they were there at an invitation from the Colombian government as well.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
and then I was going to bring up, we sort of talked about beards. I don't know if you can pull up a picture of,
Yes, I'll pull
name.
it up. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Oh, you know what? While you do that, we're going to talk about real quick because I'm going to
Okay.
find this. I'd rather end on a nice, happy, friendly note.
Yeah.
Andrew, apparently not leaving Frogmore Cottage as fast as he's supposed to. There have been a couple of articles. King Charles takes major step as Sarah Ferguson breaks silence on Prince Andrew Rift. Um,
So wait, Prince Andrew's at Frogmore now? Because I thought it was the Royal Lodge. Did he finally leave Royal Lodge then?
I
That was the
believe he's
house he
been.
wouldn't give up.
Isn't that it? Is it not? I thought it was Frogmore. Um,
It was the Royal Lodge.
okay, the Royal
I
Lodge.
think
Yeah,
they
you're
wanted
right.
him to move to Frogmore because then he'd be on property, and then they wouldn't have to pay for separate security.
Gotcha. Okay, that sounds right. Um,
Let's see. Let's see. I forget
go ahead here.
what's their handle? Just the or it's probably the Cambridges, right? Where I'll find William's good picture.
Yes, I had an article and I'm not finding it. The strangeness that Andrew and Fergie still live under the same roof. Because
Oh,
they're
right.
very good friends, which I think it's great. It's marvelous. I just still
I know. Am I frozen?
um
Okay, so sorry, you froze up, or I froze up.
yes. And on that fun note, and in the same article,
Okay,
now
wait.
amid these,
Sorry,
go
you.
ahead.
I
Go ahead.
couldn't hear you, so you froze
Oh,
up
okay.
for like a
Hello.
good long time.
Oh, yes, we had some radio silence there. Not a bad, not terrible. It
Yeah.
just Fergie. King Charles has taken a major step and adopted the British Hen Welfare Trust's 1 millionth hen and named the bird Henrietta. So that's some big news right there. Oh my goodness, that's
That's
pretty
great.
funny. So you got a picture of Will. So we've seen Will looking a
Yeah,
little
try.
scruffy
Let
up in
me.
Balmoral.
I knew. Let's see, because I found it recently, but then let me try it again. Okay, so
And going back to um Spare,
yes.
Harry's book, talked about how he asked, for royal permission from the queen. I want to keep my beard. I don't want to shave it. And she gave him that permission. And there was like some resentment on Will's part that he was not able to have a beard for his wedding or for something like that at the time. And now we're seeing pictures emerging from Balmoral and from the summer that he's actually grown a little scruff. I think he looks pretty
So
good with
here,
that. Here we go.
check the article I found.
Here we go.
Prince William
Looks
is hot
great.
again.
That is a good picture though. That's a
It is,
flat
right?
picture. It
Yeah.
looks really good. Yes, yes,
Yeah, I get to see his
yes.
eyes. Yeah, that's
That's
hilarious.
hilarious. That what
Right,
a funny headline. Oh my God.
right.
Great. Okay.
So yeah, so that is yeah. So Prince William seems to have it. So like with the comment about Prince Harry's book, right? Like claiming that it was a huge deal because William didn't get to have a beard. And was it for his own wedding, like that he would have wanted a beard?
I think it was something
Yeah.
like that. Yes.
Okay. Something like that. Yeah. And then, but Harry was allowed to have a beard. Um, they got married like I forget how many years apart, but like times were different. I mean, like the uh facial hair now is so common. Like I was telling Trevor, I said on the dating apps, they go, there's like no one clean shaven, hardly
No,
anybody. Everyone
no.
has something
Seriously.
going
Yep.
on. And like,
Yep.
and recently Piper, I've been having her exposed to my music videos of the 90s. So she's like been listening to Britney Spears in my car for years. and and now we're listening to like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and stuff. But so I started showing her the music videos, and what's hilarious is like her trying to understand almost the point to them. So like because the videos, especially in the 90s, were like usually pretty creative or had some like storyline happening, but it wasn't necessarily tied to the song. So like one of
Okay.
the Backstreet Boys songs, like they're
Right.
in a haunted house and they all end up becoming different monsters dancing around,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Right.
And so, and like NSYNC has one where like it kind of has to do with the song, but to, the average 6-year-old, they're not going to pick up on it. But it's like a girl like chasing them, like, running on a train or whatever. Um,
Yes.
so her questions, first of all, are just hilarious, where she's just like, why is she doing that? Like, it's like, oh, because it's fun. Like, and so, but she tells me this in like every show that she watches, who she likes, which girl she wants to be and then who she likes. And in the music videos, she usually likes the guy in the boy band who has facial hair, and there's usually only one of them. And I was like, are you kidding me? No one liked him. Like, in the 90s, it was like, that was weird. Why do you have that? Like,
Right.
like
Right.
we're
Yeah.
little girls, we don't want to see that. So um yeah, so that was so funny. And then she likes Howie from the Backstreet Boys, Howie D, who had like a ponytail, like a low ponytail.
Oh,
And I
right.
was just like, ew, we were so like ew by that. Telling Trevor was just like, it's clearly like a fashion, it's a trend where now it's just become so
So
normalized.
normal.
Like
Yes.
that they've got to let him keep at least the scruff. Like honestly, I prefer scruff than like a full beard. I like the scruff look.
Well,
I
you
don't
need
want
to be
him to really
scruffy
go
like
fuller
like
than
five
Prince,
o'clock shadow, or are we talking
like what Prince William had.
yeah,
So
something
like
like
past
that.
the 5 o'clock shadow, right? But it's
Yes.
not a full beard. You can still see like some
Correct.
skin.
Correct. It's not ZZ Top. If anybody that might be a reference to Far Gone too, also, but like beard that when you
Right.
think Civil War, redneck sitting out on his front back, on his front porch with that sort of thing. But when it's funny that it has to be a sign of the times, even in the royal family, because when you think about how is it Edward, right?
Yes.
Albert, they
Right.
had
Yeah,
mutton chops, they had the
exactly. Yeah.
beards and the mustaches and
And
whatever was fashionable at the
and
time.
even Prince Philip had let's see, had it for a while. So let's
Well,
see.
he had that when he was cruising around the world, wasn't that it?
Yes.
And it was like a bet between all of them or something like that. So
Oh, was it? Okay,
I
because
think
it
so.
was, yeah, I like searched it. So like, yeah, it's definitely when he's younger. Um, but here they've got, I mean, there's Prince Charles young with like a mustache. That one just looks funny. Um, but you're right. So maybe that was just like a thing then, just while he was on the ship. Yeah, exactly,
So
right?
there's Prince Edward the Seventh, and that's what they wore back then.
Right. And so that's also what I thought. Oh, sorry, I didn't actually click share, did I? I was
Yes,
like
you
looking
did.
at it.
Yes, you
And
did.
oh,
It's
I
coming
did.
in.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay. So
There.
then,
Oh, yeah. On
okay,
and off
then I stopped
real
it.
quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. So, yeah. So, but I told Trevor, I was like, I wonder if it was like a thing of like before you're married, like as a royal, you're supposed to be clean shaven. But I feel like, let's see, what was it? It was Prince Edward, right? That abdicated.
That was Edward the Eighth. Yes.
Edward the Okay. Because he did he have a beard for a while he was
I don't
a
know. I don't recall
civil?
seeing him with the beard. I
Yeah, I was
think
like,
Edward.
he looks pretty clean shaven most of
Yes.
the time.
But that's what they did. That was that
Yeah,
era,
you
that
had to
age they did
be.
not have. Yes.
Right, right. So that's what I was just looking to see if like it ever reached, if the trend ever came up while he was alive for it to be a thing. But
Yeah.
no, he looks like he was always clean shaven. So yeah. But yeah, so I just thought like maybe it's a married thing, like William, like, don't look like a bum before you're like an adult.
Right.
When
Or
people have beards.
I would imagine too, there may wonder if there was any thought process to having enough period of time where it didn't look like he just forgot or didn't shave. He has to have a certain period of time where he does not have any
Oh,
engagement,
right.
that he can go from clean shaven to
The
decent beard
official
to make it
beard.
look like that, rather than just, hey, I rolled out of bed to be here this morning kind of thing too.
Right, right. That's true.
So I have to say, Will has an incredibly strong sometimes too strong of a jawline, you know,
Yeah, he does.
and that beard, at least in that picture, definitely was much more flattering.
That's true.
For
It
him.
does. And it does help balance out the lack of hair on the top.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and with and that was like another farmers market person, someone commented about like, how Harry's better or whatever, and they're like, and he's got better hair. And I was like, if you look closely, because
Mm-hmm.
time's fading.
Yeah,
The clock's running out on
that's
that
right.
one.
And yeah, and he may be getting some assistance in some form or other. So,
Right,
to
right. It's like
when he's
for the
not
most
there.
part, whenever it's like any picture from like above, like you see it's sort of like
Yes.
lightest of comb overs.
Yes,
Like,
right, right.
he's
Yeah.
he's fighting it. Yeah. So it was like, well, yeah. But yeah, I'm like, it's fine. William was, the hot one while they were like teenagers. I could say that
Mm-hmm.
as a teenager at the
Mm-hmm. Right.
and yeah, Prince Harry was not found to be the cute one at all. And it was like he
Mhm.
grew into his looks. So it's like, fine, let him be hot for a little while.
Right, right. Let that just
He'll
be
lose
another
eventually.
rivalry between these two.
I know, right?
Goodness gracious. Well, I'm looking over my list and I
Yeah,
think we covered, however
yeah,
well or not so well, but we covered quite a bit.
I love it.
Oh, wrong one. Um, yeah, I think all that's good stuff. There was some report that, the whole Charles really isn't doing well and they're covering it up. I don't know that that's true. I'm sure he may still be going through some sort
Yeah,
of treatment, but he's still out doing engagements. It's not like he's,
right.
it hasn't been
I
seen.
feel like
So,
that's yeah, a rumor I've heard as well. And like the you know, the opinionated people also say that Charles, he's not doing well. He needs to just give the throne to William.
yes,
And
yes,
I was like, why? Because William's in such a better position with his sick wife.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
Not a great time
I was
for
like, I
them
don't
either.
know if Charles, yeah, I was like, as long as Charles can at least make like little appearances, it was like they send out royals all the time in place anyway. So like
Yes.
I feel like there's no reason to like take it away from him before it has to be taken away
I
from him.
think I think there's a lot of people that want that. They wanted to skip this generation of poor Charles, who just waited his whole life, and as soon as he gets in, he gets cancer. His
Right,
daughter-in-law gets cancer. His two
right,
sons don't get along, and
right,
and he's probably just panicked, like, what is my legacy going to be?
right, right,
It's his mother's among many things, but it was mostly the longevity as
yes,
well as the um stiff upper lip that never
right,
explained explain kind of thing. But what will it be for Charles? He has
right.
very little, I shouldn't say very little time, but he doesn't have as much
Just
time
in
to make the
comparison.
impact. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
And so far it's just it's going to go down as King Charles, the ruling king who had two sons who couldn't get along because, and blah blah blah.
Right, right.
And it's going to be tied to Diana. It will
Oh,
always.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It will have to be. Yeah.
Yes,
Because
yes,
that was a long drawn out thing, like time, years wise. I mean,
yes,
what
yes.
they got married in what, 81 or something? Or was
81. Mhm.
81? Yeah. And it was like, and then what, it was like dragging on into the 90s still. Like it was still a like, all the press was still obsessed over what
Yes.
she's doing while he's,
Yes, but now
while
you
they're
have social
divorced.
media and you have things like The Crown that continue to perpetuate
Correct.
all
Yeah.
of that.
Yes.
So there are, so that
Right.
no generation goes unknowledgeable
Right. Right.
about those things.
That's
So,
true.
and I think that I do think that's one of the things that propels media, as you and I have talked about before. There is absolutely no negative press. There's almost zero, like undetectable zero negative press for William and Kate.
Right.
Um, and that everything they do is wonderful
Right.
and well done and everything else. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how that unfolds in another 20 years. That's if
Right.
that's not what the case is. But I don't see Charles abdicating unless mental illness and if he truly not able to
Oh,
take
right.
it's going to be
Right.
my
Right.
life, my whole life, just like
Right.
his
Right.
mother had said. So
Right. Right.
yeah, that's what I do believe. So
Yes, I agree. And I think it should be that way.
yes,
So,
yes, I do too, unless they become mentally
like you
incapacitated.
said, yeah, yeah. I mean, if he, yeah, gets dementia or whatever, right?
Yes, yes,
That kind of thing. So
right.
that would make sense. But yeah, but other than that,
Yeah.
let him be.
Definitely. All right. Well, listen, we've talked quite
Yes.
a bit here, and I'm gonna have to go get a little girl from the bus stop pretty soon.
Okay. Okay. Well,
So
it was lovely catching up. And
you
my
too.
lighting has changed now that it's like weird and rainy out.
Oh, I would like to have an offline conversation with you, as we had mentioned once before, about pricing, about
Yes.
some marketing, about things like that.
Yes. I haven't emailed you back yet. Yes. I saw your emails. Yeah.
Don't go there. Yeah, don't go there. I was floored. I mean, it's my church bulletin. They're all printed from one particular place, and they ask you which churches did you want to.
Oh, okay.
And so I picked area churches.
Oh,
And
that's
I
fun.
mean, we're talking like a little thing like this on the back of a bulletin. And
Sure.
I'm thinking this is probably locally printed. How expensive could it
Yeah,
be?
yeah, yeah.
And they like to advertise with the block for like 4 churches was like 4,000 something something dollars. Like,
What?
what? And
Oh my
or
goodness.
to in perpetuity for however long, I don't remember exactly,
Yeah,
but
that's
she's like, oh, you could do this, or you just, and she said, and I wrote her back, I said, I had no idea, I'm just a little hobby business right now. I said, I cannot afford that, thank you for your time.
yeah.
And she says, I understand. She said, however, look at this price, and she gave me
Right.
something else, and the cheapest package was like $1,300. And I'm like, I think I'm just gonna go back to, like, Instagram and do the $5 promotion.
Yeah, no
Oh,
kidding.
that's number
That's
locally.
wild. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I had no idea. So let's go back to word of mouth. Let's go.
yeah.
Where's
Right,
your
right.
bulletin board at the church? Put my business card up there
Yeah,
and
yeah,
help,
yeah. Oh
you
my
know.
goodness.
Yeah, so just delete that email,
Right,
and
right.
we'll talk about things later, because pricing always a tricky thing for you and
Right.
me, always, trying to find
Yes.
the right groove. And
Yeah.
a friend of mine texted, she said, why don't we go to tea at it's called Peacock Alley,
Mhm. Oh, that's
and
cute.
it's the Willard Hotel, which is right next to the White House.
Hmm.
And it was built in the 1800s, and there's the walk that used to take you from the front of the building to the back of the building.
Hmm.
And it's where in the 1800s these women and men, but most women, have on all their finery,
Oh,
and
yeah.
this is where they would socialize, up and down these halls and things like
Right.
that.
Oh,
And
that's fun.
yeah, so like proud like peacocks. So you can get afternoon tea and in Peacock Alley. And she sent me this link, and she said, maybe we could do this. And it was $129 per person. Like, I'm like, damn, why can't I charge that for tea?
Right? Yeah, no kidding.
And I know some of the reasons why, but a lot of it is it's their name. You get to
Yeah,
say,
yeah. It's
"I'm
the
at
right.
the Willard." So yeah. So always still trying to, how do we do this and how do we do that? And I'd like to, pick your brain and share my thoughts.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we
Yes.
need to do that one of these days.
Agreed. Yes.
Soon, soon,
Yes.
soon. So anyway,
Yes.
great to see you. You look great.
Lovely
Loving
to
the
see you.
haircut.
Thank you. You look
Yep.
great too.
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll put something on the calendar for October, because it's my gosh,
I know. I keep thinking
November.
like, yeah, I had like dinner with my old coworker like right at the beginning of September, and I was like, okay, so when do we meet for September? I was like, oh my God, this is September.
Yeah, exactly. And then I flashed back to that awkward Halloween one that we tried to do, and the power, everything was against us. Yeah,
Oh,
we're coming in, something's flashing in
okay.
and out. I got a call from the school. I had to go get my daughter. It was
You're
like the,
right.
the
I
worst
forgot that.
5 minute tea that ever was. It was terrible. So anyway, yeah.
Okay.
But
Awesome.
yeah, we'll do something soon.
Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you. We'll see you
All
later.
right. Cheerio,
Take care.
bye.
Cheers.